something in common because at some point in our lives we both gave up the corporate world, strapped on the backpacks, and went back to school. So, and I was so pleased to find out that Kevin was running for selectman. If you read his positions, he's great. He's a strong supporter of the schools, which is great. I know many of us here have students in school. He's also a strong supporter of the seniors, and we're all getting close to being seniors. So that's so I just want to introduce Kevin. He's going to say a few words. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Kathy and Steve. Very much welcoming into your home to be able to speak and meet familiar faces and some unfamiliar faces. I'm really delighted to be here. As many of you may know, you couldn't have better neighbors than Kathy and Steve because they live right across the street. And when they left, I remember complaining. I did not want to see them leave, but times and things move along. But then again, here we are, back together. My name's Kevin McCarthy. I've been in town here with my wife and 2 children for 22 years. And my children went through the school system from the 4th grade right on up through to graduation and went on to great colleges, which this school system can produce, and it's one of the great treasures that we have as a community. It's one of the very most important things that we do in Cohasset is have a great school system. A lot of us moved here for it. We got a great deal of benefit from it, but you still benefit from it whether you have kids in the school system or not, because it's one of the better income generators for you because it keeps your property values up and going. But really more important, it just does a tremendous amount. Our school system does a healthy, excellent one for the children, which is what we're, that we raise in the community, and that's a great, very important to me. My career is, I've done a number of things, so I won't go over a lot of it, but essentially I was an executive with Dunkin' Donuts for 19 years. I ended up as vice president. I ran about half of the company. From there, I was decided business wasn't all that I ever wanted to do. I was successful and really liked it. But my kids were growing older, and I was traveling all the time, like maybe a few of you do. And I decided to make some change. Wanted to make some changes. So I changed to become president of the division of chocolate nuts. They had a local company here. I was president of that. At the same time, I was in my early 40s. I applied to law school just sort of as a recreational thing. You'd have to know me to know that. I do nerdy things like that for recreation. So I sent out the applications. It takes about a year and a half to do law school applications and studied for the boards. And I got accepted to all the law schools that I applied to. So I thought, wow, this is something. And then I talked about it with my wife, and so she said, okay, I could do it if I wanted to do it. I got permission. Delayed it for a year. But anyways, I ended up going to Boston University School of Law full-time. And so I was in the corporate board Friday. Saturday morning I was with 22-year-old students. The average age was 22 in law school. It was a fantastic experience. I went full-time backpack, which I had never worn. I wear them all the, I now wear them in the legal conferences because I love backpacks. We didn't have them when I was a kid. We had sleds. So I love backpacks. And once I got through law school, I set up my own practice, which was pretty logical for me. Again, I didn't want to move or go. I did have an opportunity to become district attorney in Miami, and their big attraction was that in a few months I'd do robberies and felonies and so forth, but then they promised me in 6 months I'd be doing murders. I don't know, I'm a franchise guy, so I set up my own practice here very quickly. And I built that practice, and lo and behold, a number of my clients are Dunkin' Donut clients, and so circles go around. And so I went through all that, and during that period I became chairman of the Dunkin' Donut Franchise Association, which is the largest franchise organization. I did that for 3 years, and I left that. And then I was also chairman of the New England Franchise Association, New England, so I did that for 3 years. So I got to a point in my life you do things as your time goes on just for 3 or 4 years and you move on. And so I moved on from that. And then, anyways, my practice went along, and as a citizen in the town, I just saw what was going on in our government, and that's where we got to where I'm here tonight. I became more and more concerned about how our government is operated, and I used to hear a lot of things in town about how rough politics is in Cohasset, and how dysfunctional things have been for the selectmen and so forth, and our governance in general. So I thought, well, I think I'll start to get involved, and so I joined the governance committee about a year ago, and that turned out to be a fantastic experience because I started to learn a lot more about Cohasset, but I started to meet people that I hadn't met town is full of just fabulous, interesting, fun, dedicated citizens, and just wonderful people I hadn't met when I was in the realm of my children growing up or busy going to law school. So I got involved in the governance. We wrote the Amended Town Manager Act, and we went through quite a lot there, which I won't bore you with. But the Amended Town Manager Act essentially is the constitution for the town. It's the nuts and bolts of how the town is run. We got that passed through a town meeting with what to do, and we had to carry it through the whole legislative process, and I learned about that and how to get bills through the legislation. And so with all of that, in the selectmen meeting, campaign came up with all the challenges that our politics have had in town, saying it nicely, dialogue, the equality, and so forth. People started asking me if I would run for selectman. I met with a group or two and thought about it, and so I decided, just like law school, got my wife's permission. With that, I proceeded to file my papers, and off I went. So I was very impressed. When you file your papers, you have to get 50 signatures to file them. I ended up getting 156, mainly because I was at the town dump. And that's where I got them. But the biggest thing, too, is, again, I started meeting and seeing people, and they were all almost uniformly, a lot of them, the vast majority were really delighted to see me, which made me feel good. They had read some of the writings I did in the newspaper. Yeah. They liked some of my writings, esoteric as some of it may be, and they liked that, and they saw my announcement. But they were, fundamentally, though, what they're really glad is they wanted to see somebody fresh and new who could come in and bring some stability and some experience and professionalism to the board. There's a huge hunger in this town for that. I mean, that was the biggest issue, bigger than the schools or anything else. Everybody wants the leadership to be run much better. And I think there's good reasons, without getting too negative, about things that have gone on with some of the members in the leadership on the Board of Selectmen and the current majority of the running it that really could use improvement. So, but I got a huge voice of support from 156 people when I filed that. And that's one of my main themes. And I'm an attorney. I've been a board member, an executive. I've run big companies, small companies. I look at those selectors meetings. I know I can do better than what the majority is doing there right now. And I want to get in and I can help out and help change the political culture in this town, which is souring our town and it's souring the social culture, and it's just not good. And I'm a positive person. I really enjoy these kinds of things. I keep in very good health and spirits with the help of my yoga practice at down in the studio. They keep me very mellow and
you're not going to have my vote.
Yeah, you're not going to see any outbursts from me. It'll be more like but I have the legal background and a lot of training in doing this sort of thing, and I know some things about politics. I've been active in political campaigns for other people and so forth. So I feel as though I can contribute a lot. The schools, I think, are a very vital issue. The second biggest thing I heard at the town dump, and elsewhere though, because I've met with a number of school parents and other groups. I go to a lot of school meetings, and not to bore you too much, but the student population is growing a lot more than the funding is, and we need to make sure that that does not affect the quality of our education, especially the school size. I'm a big believer as far as education. I'm not an expert in that area, but I've had plenty of education, and I believe that the biggest thing in education is to get a good teacher in front of your students. You can almost, if you have enough teachers or a good teacher in close contact with their students, you could almost teach in the field. That's my emphasis is you've got to have those support people and the teachers, and they've got to be at the right level, the lower level, especially in the smaller grades where they're all vulnerable. And I had children that age, but I know it. And that's how you build a successful and robust school system. That's going to be significantly challenged in the next few years. One of our bigger issues, we need to protect that, and you'll see that I'll be speaking a lot more about that, but I know all about that issue. I think it's important. The other big issue is our budget planning we're always doing it late, and it's always not done, it's disorganized. There's a whole format that we built into the Amended Town Manager Act, which is how the town's going to be run. It lays a detailed budget process with the active participation of selectmen. I know all about that, and I'm going to be right on top of that if I'm a selectman, get that going in the late summer at the latest, so it doesn't start later in the year and we end up with the squabbles that you're usually seeing now. So those are a couple of the biggest issues. I'm a veteran, and I'm active with the American Legion. I love to get out there on Fridays. I get my $2 beer. I go to that. If any of you know me on Facebook, I'll 1 or 2, and I post it and so forth. But I know the veterans' issues. They're very important, what they do at Memorial Day.